Okay, so what we are going to try here today is we are going to try and do a little tutorial of the Reaper mask. Now, the main reason why I wanted to do this is because my buddy Jabri wanted to actually see the process of the technique that I call doing a dart. Also, other people call it an undercut. Essentially, there's about 6 different names for it, but they all provide the same type of result. They give you a nice sharp rounded edge on the front of your piece, and you accomplish this by cutting in the back of the foam and then shaping and bending the foam around it and then gluing it in place. So I'm actually going to go a little bit further in this one, and I'm going to try and show you the entire steps how I go ahead and make my Reaper mask. Now what you see out here in the Reaper mask is these are my own custom templates that I made for the Reaper character from Overwatch. So this is his faceplate, and with this faceplate, essentially I did this in AutoCAD because that's what I work with every day, and I made a PDF of it. So anytime that I want a new one, I can go ahead and print myself out a new one with no problem. I usually make myself 2 so I can see what the base is and then what it looks like with the pieces on top of it. That's a piece, nose piece, and that's the brows. Those 2 will go together and then form around this base piece that I go ahead and cut out. These dotted lines that you see, these are all lines that either I'm going to make a score mark with, or I'm going to put a hole in, or I'm going to do an undercut with. These here that you see are where the undercuts will go. So that way when I go ahead and I start to shape it, I can go ahead and fold around those, and you'll see how that works out in a second. So I'm going to tape this piece, and this piece may be a little bit boring. And actually, no, I'm going to stop the tape here. Well, let's see what we do. So I'm going to go ahead and start to cut this and see what we get. Now, what I'm using is called a hot knife. A lot of people who work with Everfoam, and that's what I'm working with, a lot of people who work with Everfoam, they use regular razor blades or they use an X-Acto knife, and although those work wonderfully, I personally like to use a hot knife because with a hot knife it gives me very clean edges and cuts down on my cleanup time after I'm done. And the other nice thing is I don't have to sharpen the blade as much. You can sharpen the blade to go ahead and save yourself some money by having to replace the blades over and over again. And for that, I do have a sharpener that I will use from time to time. And when I'm usually cutting, I like to start from the inside out. That way my templates that are taped to the top of the Everfoam don't really get a chance to start to run away from me. Now I'm just going to put little marks right here to remind myself to go back later and cut those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a score, and I'm going to score this with the top part of the razor so I can come back later and hit it with the heat. And what that's going to do with the Everfoam is when I score the line, when I hit it with the heat later, it's going to cause the line to expand to give me really clean trough lines, and you'll see that in a second. So instead of cutting all the way through, I'm just cutting very lightly in the Everfoam, and you'll see what this does for me later. And honestly, people, all the techniques that I'm using here are used by everybody who works with Everfoam. It's just that some of us are visual learners, and sometimes being able to see it and see it done helps a ton. So, got that basic piece done. Now the only other pieces that I want to cut out right now is I want to cut out the 2 cheeks and this piece right here, and then I'll cut out the outside, and then you'll see what we do underneath. And as you see with the hot knife, it saves me a ton of time just for the simple fact that I can continue to cut and not have to stop as often as well for sharpening my blade. And all of this hot knife is, like, if you search for hot knife in the States or you search for hot knife, you'll get a couple different options. But stores like Joann's and Michael's, they've started to get smart now. And all this is, it's just a Walnut Creek, a Walnut Creek wood burner with a blade attachment. And they actually have started selling these now and calling them hot knives because so many people have been asking for hot knives. But this is the one that I use, and it came in a pack with 30 attachments, and trust me, those attachments are wonderful for doing a lot of different things, such as battle damage and stressing out your armor and everything like that. So it's really good stuff. If you can find one, it's like 30 bucks here. If you can find one, I would suggest that you get one if you want to work with a hot knife. If you want to work with blades, that's perfectly fine because they work just as well. But for me, the ease of use with this is well worth the little bit of extra money and what I call an investment, because when you do a lot of it, you start to look at these tools that you use and you see what they really are. They're investments in your craft and in your art. And now that all those pieces on the inside are cut out, I'm going to cut around the outside of it. And then I'm going to use this same template and I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use the dashed lines as my guides for where I want to make my darts or my undercuts. And honestly, people, if you're good at freehanding your templates and your drawing, please don't be intimidated by the fact that I said that I use AutoCAD. I just use it because I've been using it for the past 20 years. And translating those skills over into these types of skills was very simple for me. But you know, you use and you find the technique that works best for you. Okay. Let's turn this around a little bit. And we'll keep cutting. Okay, so that is the base of what I have cut out now. I want to make sure that I save this top piece because, like I said, I'm going to use it for these dashed lines, which are my guidelines for what I'm going to score in a second. Okay, so I just take this and pull this up and we'll put this to the side. Now, I still need to cut out pieces, this nose piece and this brow piece up here. I have this extra here just in case I made some really bad mistakes here and I wanted to try again. So this is my second template if I need to go. And doing it like this also helps me plan out space on my Everfoam so I can make the most out of each piece of foam that I have and save myself money in the long run. that to the side. And those little pieces can come in handy later, you know, just in case you need to remeasure or put something down or make a trace of these paper pieces when you're done. You can make a trace of them on the paper or back on the Everphone to give you copies of the pattern very, very quickly if that's what you need. So I would advise, you know, if you have a little area to put things to the side, put those things to the side until you are absolutely done. Because I cannot tell you how many times I've done a project or been working with a project and needed to make a copy of something and been kicking myself in the ass because I have thrown away a pattern that I found out that, oh shit, I need again. So, just a little tip to kind of make your life a little bit easier. If at all possible. Okay. So now that that is done, what I do want to do to help me guide myself really quickly before I pull this whole thing off, and as you can see, it's already wants to start to move a little bit on me. So what I want to do is I want to get in here and, if at all possible, with those pieces that I just had, you see here, and the nice thing about this is it should fall right there. So I just want to double check. It falls there, and then I'll put the other piece right on top of it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this at the moment. And underneath you'll see all I'm holding it on to the Everphone with is just regular tape. In this particular case I lost my duct tape and had to use some electrical tape. So you make do with what you have. Pop that piece out. Carefully pop that piece out that doesn't want to come out. And as I look at this, I need to hit a couple more lines in this to get this to pop out the way I want. So let's see what we can do. Still missed a spot. Okay. Now I'll pop this piece out. Now as you can see, nice clean edges for the most part. Just go back over them with a Dremel or a piece of sandpaper when I'm all said and done. And we're good to go. Alright. So then I'll pop these pieces out. Pop this piece out, of course. And pop my eyes out. Alright. Pop the nose out. And there is my basic shape for it. So there's the basic shape. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put the score lines in the back. So remember I said we're going to come back to this piece? Here's where we come back to it. So I'll flip this over, and on the back of this template, or on the back of this line piece, I go ahead and I roughly line this up. Now I can reuse this little bit of tape that I had, but on the checkered piece it tends not to want to work so well, and there are other ways I can do this. In this particular case, I'm just going to put a couple drops of glue on it just to save some time. because it's important to hold this in place as securely as possible. There are other ways to do it, but I'm doing it this way. So, all right. All right. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the initial trench lines or dart lines in the back of this. And then I'm going to be removing material in order to give myself a trench to fold it into. Please remember, do not cut all the way through your foam during this piece, or you kind of defeat the purpose. And you don't need a template to do this. If you know where you want the rolled edges to be on your armor, and you can freehand it, freehand mark the back of your armor and cut yourself some shallow trench lines, and you can get the same type of result. Now, depending on the thickness of your armor or the thickness of the Evafoam that you're working with, you're going to either make those trench lines bigger or smaller when it's all said and done. So you see, all those lines are cut. So then I'll pull this up, and that effectively will ruin that pattern, but it was meant for that one, and I have a spare if I need it. Now if you look real close, what you see is you see lightly scored lines in the foam. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut very shallowly and make a trench on either side of those score lines. Okay? And I'm going to angle the blade in at like a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to cut there. And just keep cutting until I get the trench size that I want. And through experimentation, you'll find what trench line size is the right size for you and your project. But remember, it's always good to cut too little at first and work your way out, than to cut off a massive amount at first and then not be able to recover from that because you've already cut too much. And remember, people, none of this has to be perfect. One of my favorite artists and the people that I learned from, Bob Ross, he was very famous for saying, we make happy little mistakes. So none of us are perfect. None of us get it right the first time every time. And honestly, sometimes when you make mistakes, that's when you grow and innovate. Some of my best creations or things that I've ever made have been because I really effed up the first time trying to make them. So don't be afraid to make a mistake. You can always recover from it. Okay, so I cut trench lines on either side of it to widen that, and then I just take my finger and I go to the outside and I just dig it out. Yep. So I just dig that on out. And I do the same thing with the other side. Just get in there with a finger and just dig it on out. Dig it out till you're happy with it. Now see, this side in this particular pass has a wider trench. I like that. This one's kind of narrow. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go ahead and hit that one more time. hit that one more time. Dig this one out. All right. Now, it's funny because when I cook, I like to clean as I go. But when I do this, I kind of have stuff everywhere. So, you know, you do the best you can. Okay. So, now that that's done, I've got my trenches here. And when you come over to this side, what you see happening is you can see the beginnings of how this is going to give you the shape that you want. Okay? So now the next thing is getting the basic shape on this damn thing. Okay, so for that, we turn to the heat gun. Now, I have a cutting mat underneath of this, and the heat gun and the cutting mat don't really like each other. So, I'm gonna go ahead and move that out a bit. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hit the front of this, and I'm gonna hit the back of it. Now, when I hit the front, remember those score lines that we made in the front before? These are now going to expand. And actually, before I do that, let me do this. I want detailed lines in the top of this, or actually there's a hole that goes right where I push that in at. Nice thing with a heat knife is when you're working with Evafoam, you can take your knife and push. Instant hole. Knife, push, instant hole. Okay. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna blast this bad boy and get the shape in a little bit. Okay. So the nice thing about this, it also seals the foam. So it gives you a nice sealed surface to put wood glue on, or to put plasti dip, or any other thing that you want to put on there that you want to paint on top of. Notice that as I do this, I keep the hot gun or the heat gun constantly moving. If you keep it over an area too long, it'll burn the foam in that area. So something just to be aware of. So I hit the top, and then I hit the back. And this next part you're not going to be able to see right away, but what I'm going to do to get the concave shape of the face is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it over my knee and any other curved surface like a bowl, or if you've got a medicine ball or anything like that, you can work with that. Alright. So take that, and you're not going to be able to see this piece, but trust me when I say that it's over my knee right now as I'm starting to shape it. And you might have to do this 2 or 3 times. Now, even from that initial piece, it went from flat to having a slightly curved surface. All right? To get the rounded surface at the bottom, I'll hit that later, but I'm going to use this cup to fold that in and around. So, now as you do this, you may see the curved piece that you just have start to go away slightly, but that's all right. We're working with that. And if you want to get real slick with it, I'll show you another thing you can do. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Yeah, bowl. So, if you want to get super slick, get yourself a bowl, like a cereal bowl, some shit like that. We call this cosplay engineering. In certain cases, it's ghetto cosplay engineering. It's whatever you want to call it. We just working to get the job done. That. So you take this, you put that there, you put your hand here, and you press this trash into a bowl. You press it into a bowl, and you hold it in the bowl until it gives you the shape that you want. Now in this particular case, I want a bigger curve, so I'm gonna move it out a little bit, just to work with that. I'm gonna press it in this damn bowl until I get what I want from it. That's a little bit better. And now I can work on this bottom piece a little bit. I'm going to take this. Cup in here. I'm going to wrap and hold around this cup. Yes. Okay. Alright, so now we've gone from the flat piece to a better curved piece. And I'm going to do this again. Like that. Put that back in here. And hold that like that. And just hold it. Okay. So now that we've got that roughly where we want there, then comes this fun little piece. Alright, so now that I've roughly got it to where I want it, still a little bit of tweaking left to do, but we'll get to that. Actually, let me hit one more pass up here because I want to do something else you can't see. In this particular case, I'm going to put this over my face. Can't see that, but it gives you a nice little curvature as well. Then I'm going to take my glue, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these side pieces together the way that I want them. So I tend to use glue from Hobby Lobby a lot of times. My favorite glue as of right now is Barge, and that's a beast of a product. Works extremely well for these types of applications. Only thing is, it takes a little while to set up, and because we're trying to do this fairly quickly, we don't really have that type of time to roll with it. But if you can get barge, I highly advise that you use barge. Barge is awesome. Now, that's simply how it's done. So I take the trench, put my glue in it, press the sides together, just like that, and nice rolled edge on the top. Simple undercut. Okay, I'll do the same thing with the other side. Okay. And same thing. Roll this piece like so. Roll this piece at the top together. Okay, and roll this piece on the edge of this together the way that you want it. There you go. Both sides now rolled. And this side didn't want to take a little bit, so I'll just press back down on it, see if I can get it sharp. And the nice thing about Everfoam is if your rolled edge doesn't want to take, you can go back in with your X-Acto blade or your hot knife and cut that glued section out and re-roll it. You can't do it indefinitely, but you get my point. So there you go. Now, take these two pieces here that I put over here for a while ago. Glue them together real quick. Glue those together. Hit those up real quick with the heat gun, just to seal those as well. Roll those around, cup. Just to give it a little initial curvature, that's all we're doing here. Okay. Nice little rounded shape. Okay. And then we look at how we're going to line this up. Now, where the hell? All right. So we know that it's going to hit over those brows and it's going to hit down in here. I can lay it down here to show how it initially, how it should fall. And in this particular case, it would probably be easier to glue on this side than on the other side. So I'm gonna drop a few things of glue over here just to make sure we get good adhesion to the face. All right. And then we'll go ahead and try and get this on here properly. Key word was try. Okay. And in this particular case, I am off a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the whole thing up because it's off. And I didn't measure properly, and that's my fault. Okay. One thing to make note of, the glue fumes are strong, but of course, wear safety equipment, people. Don't be dumb like me. All right. Okay. And when it's all said and done, there's your basic Reaper mask. Ready to go. Ready for paint. We're actually ready for Plasti Dip, paint, and all the other attachments that go with it. If you like this, maybe later on we'll go ahead and we'll demonstrate some paint, some attachment, all that good stuff, cleaning up this stuff, you know, all that stuff like that. But basically, there you go. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back ahead and use my trusty cup that has my templates from Lord knows how many other projects. And I'm going to do this to help with the curvature at the top, because I basically want to curve it so much so when I go to put my head in it, it expands out and it kind of sits on my face and kind of adheres to my face a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this one more time with the heat gun. When I pull this out in a half hour or a few hours from now, you'll see the strong curve, or I'll post a picture of the strong curve that this now has in it from that. And everything else can go from there. So that's where I'll leave you at today. All right, hope you learned something. Hope it was entertaining. Thanks again. If you have any questions, please go ahead and hit me up on That Gears Guy. Y'all guys take care. Peace.